Kenya, and then worked in foreign affairs too, and now he's the current permanent representative of Kenya to UNON, the United Nations in Nairobi, and particularly Kenya's ambassador to the United Nations of the Environment Program. Okay, Baluzi, I want to ask you a question. I'm going to make it very, very short. I know you're involved in the city, of course, this beautiful city of Nairobi. So just tell us, what is your vision of the smart city in Africa in particular? And since you're working at UNON, how do you expect the international institutions, especially the United Nations, to promote the smart cities in Africa?
Please, through yours, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you very much, Ambassador Gambur, and the organizers for making this exception. It's quite regrettable that I have to be departing early, but nonetheless, I want to really appreciate the organizers of Smart Cities Morocco for inviting me to this very historic engagement. I have sat through the opening session, and I must say it is absolutely enlightening and really a good challenge to the mind, and a good opportunity for us really not to think out of the box, but indeed to think minus the box. Absolutely burn the box. If you still have the box around you, this is a good opportunity to burn that box and think minus it. Now, the question as to how I would imagine a smart city in the African context is a very interesting perspective to this whole conversation. And I would say that if you look at any cities of note through history, from Marrakesh to Mombasa, from Benguerir to Bangalore, from Tangier to Timbuktu, you would say that every city has a soul, a distinct identity. And so as we imagine cities of the future, smart cities in the African context, I would reflect on what the soul of Africa is, the special identity of Africa is, because you want to see that reflected in the cities we are imagining for today and tomorrow. And three distinct features come to mind. One is that you want to see these cities reflecting values, heritage, and that cultural distinctness that sets Africa apart, or that gives Africa its identity. And so even as we imagine cities that are riding on technology, cities that are taking advantage of the very, very top end of AI, artificial intelligence, you also want to see cities that have values, cities that have distinct heritage, cities that protect certain cultural norms and cultural values that define Africanity, if I can use a word such as that. The second feature you want to see is the spirit of community, because the African person, the African context, is a context of community. And you want to see cities that promote the spirit of community, cities where people can do things together, cities where people can share values that define them. And then finally, as a third feature, you want to see cities that protect and promote the youth. African communities, African societies have always been forward-looking in terms of succession, in terms of handing on the baton from one generation to another generation. And you look at Africa today, you see the youngest continent by far. The youth bulge on this continent is immense. In my country, Kenya, 70% of the 50 million people that populate Kenya are young people below the age of 35. And so that is a picture you see replicated pretty much across the African continent. An incredibly young population is a population that is energetic, is a population that is innovative, is very imaginative, it is very restless. They want to live in the present, in the now. They dream of big things, and the future matters to them, but they want to feel it today. This is a generation that wants to live the future in the present. And so we must have cities that respond to that. Cities that can harness the energy, the innovation, the imagination of our young people and unleash the full potential of this demographic dividend, because it is a demographic dividend. And as custodians of present life, and also custodians of future dreams, the cities we envisage, the cities we imagine today must be able to harness this incredible resource of our young people. Let me really conclude by saying that Kenya is absolutely delighted to be part of this smart cities transformation. Back in Kenya, the city of Kisumu, our third largest city on the shores of Lake Victoria, is part of this network, and they are represented here. I believe that the governor of Kisumu will virtually participate in this conversation moving forward. Konza Techno City is also part of this. And as a citizen of Nairobi, I want to see the big dreams, the big thoughts we are sharing here reflected in the city of Nairobi. Nairobi is an African city that is very global. As the only African city, indeed the only city in the global south that is host to the United Nations, it has a very global, very international feel to it, and Nairobi wants to be part of the smart cities movement. And my presence here today is to affirm that. Take it from me that Kenya will be walking this journey with Morocco and the rest of the world. And as my parting shot, I want to congratulate Morocco for bringing the World Cup 2030 to the African soil. You have made Africa incredibly proud. Of course, we were very proud with Morocco's incredible run to the semi-final of the World Cup 2022. And we look forward to Morocco really, together with the rest of Africa, making this continent even prouder with the World Cup coming to Morocco. I wish Morocco well, and we cheer you on as you make the continent proud. Thank you very much. Asante sana. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for sharing your soul and talking about the future and